Hello, avid readers, book nerds, or casual observers. Welcome to the Read Along, brought to you by the Lit Round Table. I'm Anna.
And I'm Joseph, and this is our read-along of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Welcome to week 4.
Here we go, talking about chapters 8 and 9. Finishing up part 1.
Indeed. Part 1 in the books.
Haha.
Get it? Because it's a book?
Yeah. I get
Anyway.
it. Yeah, so let's talk about that first chapter 8, getting into Kitay's home?
Yeah.
Neighborhood?
Summer vacation, kind of.
Really seeing how the other side lives. I feel like the thing that struck Rin the most was the food.
Right. The food all sounded amazing. I was like, I want to eat all of this. But no, the like pepper thing that like made them both explode.
Yeah.
Was funny. We got like a lot of exposition stuff from like a shadow puppet show.
Right.
We got them wandering through a market and him just like buying stuff willy-nilly just because he wants to. And she's like, oh, right, you're filthy rich.
My favorite was the little man that pees.
Yeah. Little figurine.
And she was like, haha, that's really funny. How much do they want for it? They were like 2 silvers. And she was like, never mind. And then Kitay was like, I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
So.
I really enjoy their friendship. I like it a lot. They talk about, so after the puppet show, she's talking about, the mythology of it and like where the trifecta came from, like the gods and like shamans, and Kitay is very like, no, shamans are fake. And she's like, no, I am one. Well, not really. She doesn't say that, but in her head, she's like,
right.
They're real and I'm going to be one.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Yeah, lots of fun exposition stuff in that chapter.
Yeah. It was cushioned well, though. It didn't feel like boring exposition. Like having it be part of a puppet show and then like they're talking about it afterwards, I thought was really clever, honestly.
Right. Yeah. There was a parade and she wasn't allowed to be with Kitay's family. Obviously, she's not like actually part of his family. But
at the very end of the chapter,
there was that thing with, so Neja's dad is the dragon warlord.
Right.
His dad is missing. And they see one of the things in the parade is like this earth spirit that only comes out in the parade when like someone important dies, or when bad things are happening. And so, but then in the next chapter, it also talks about how the leader of the Federation in Mugen also died. And now like his crazy nationalist war-mongering son is going to be the leader of the Federation, and everyone's freaking out. So I'm just like, did Neja's dad die, or was that for the Federation guy? Like, I just don't, maybe we're not supposed to know yet, but I was asking more if you read something I missed that confirmed one or the other.
I'm going to be real honest. I was more distracted by her observing the Empress.
True. Oh, yeah. That was the first time we saw the Empress.
Yes. And her description was really fascinating.
Yeah, it was.
But, yeah, I don't know that anything has been confirmed for us. But my assumption is that we are supposed to think that that's what happened. Neja's dad is the one that was killed.
Or died.
Or
Yeah.
died.
Just somehow. Yeah.
So. Or presumed dead. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The Empress, though. So pretty it's scary.
Like the way that she talks about beauty and youth was really interesting. How like youth can kind of make people look beautiful until they get older, but it's like impressive when someone gets older and they're still like really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's like an interesting thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very interesting the way she was just immediately like, I would die for you.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. She's pretty caught up in it, I would say.
Would you say smitten?
I think I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if it's like a attraction to power kind of thing versus like, because I mean, obviously the Empress is being described as very beautiful, but
Right.
she has a similar response to to Alton, the other.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
The Spearly guy.
Thank you, Spearly. That's what I was. I couldn't
Yeah.
come up with that word. The Spearly guy, mostly based out of his like intense physical power, right? And his like
Yeah.
intense ability to be incredible. And so I wonder if that's what's attractive to her. But I would definitely say that there was some attraction to the Empress.
Right.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like it was definitely a moment like that. And I think you're onto something because I think that because she's like the Viperess or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, she has some kind of godlike power. She's got some kind of shaman power. We haven't seen her do it, but maybe part of it is this kind of like this wave of like, I would die for you devotion that she like inspires in people,
Yeah.
if she's able to kind of like mesmerize people,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Snake Charmer or Cobra,
Yeah.
kind of
Could be.
like Jafar's scepter in Aladdin, like
Yeah, for sure. I think that's fair.
like she might have some kind of ways to like mentally influence people like that.
Yeah, I could see it.
So just a thought. So
I think it's a good one.
yeah.
And then we're suddenly back in school.
Yeah, back to school.
And when she tells them that she's taking up lore, they're like, "Are you sure?" Because they don't know what color sash she should wear. Which was very funny.
So funny. Oh, that was so funny. Here, have a white one.
Yeah. We haven't had someone take up lore in a long time, so we had to look it up.
Right.
But
So we learned a lot from our lore master guy. Like, she's doing a lot of meditating and a lot of what she described as like the mental equivalent of carrying a pig up a mountain for months and months.
by just sitting in silence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I would also really struggle with, so.
Yeah, I mean, if a fly lands on my nose, bro, I'm moving. Sorry. I can't. I can't not. Training in meditation while also trying to keep up with her other studies. Alton has graduated. He's not there anymore. He was apparently in his last year. I don't know if they've talked about how many years it's supposed to be, like in total. If it's like 4 or 5, 6, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But he's graduated and gone, and she talks about how crazy it is, how it's almost like he was never there. Like the first years coming in don't even know who he is, and people like stop talking about him once he's gone. It's like, oh, it's like those old glory days in high school. You leave and then all of a sudden, oh no,
don't exist
he peaked
anymore.
in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. She talked about how their class is one of the, like the current students will be the first ones that are potentially going to be graduating out into an active war. And that was kind of heavy feeling. We also had her drug exposure with Jiang.
Yeah, yeah.
That was interesting.
Teaching her about all the drugs
Mm-hmm.
and how shamans used them to ascend to the
Mm-hmm.
pantheon. Um, I had this thought thinking about her in regular classes, not lower classes,
Mm-hmm.
because I forgot about this interaction she had with Kitay, where he kind of ribs her about how she's like obsessed with Neja
Mm-hmm.
and like asks about him all the time. And she's like, no, it's just because I hate his guts.
Yeah,
And I'm like, my theory might come true.
it might,
Where
but I hope
enemies to
not.
lovers.
Yeah,
Hmm?
it's not that I don't like enemies to lovers. I just don't feel particularly
I'm not invested right
gripped
now.
by these two.
Yeah.
So,
Right now it's pretty firmly entrenched in enemies.
yes.
He's kind of ignoring her in class. She's not allowed to fight, though, even though she really wants to. She's not allowed to fight in the pits
Mm-hmm.
because second years can do that now. But no. Master says no.
Which I think is very smart.
Hmm.
Well, he's basically an airbender. So,
He does make the leaves move.
and he floats.
Hmm. So in that previous chapter, when he punches her and the rocks underneath of her crack,
Mm-hmm.
that was definitely some like shaman thing. We were right.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a thing normal people do, even
Right.
though it felt like they just glossed over it. Like she was not nearly surprised enough, I thought, in that moment that she broke the ground.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um yeah, so that like the fire that she felt
Mm-hmm.
when she was fighting Neja in the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
um I'm I'm thinking Phoenix.
Yeah. Could
I'm
be.
thinking she was channeling Phoenix energy.
Yeah. I think so. I think that makes sense.
Um Especially because when so she gets sent up to the top of a mountain to meditate for a uh for an unspecified amount of time, which sounds like absolute agony. You
Right.
don't.
She has to tell her other classes, like, hey, I'm going to have to go do this thing on top of the mountain. They go, okay, we'll be back within a year. And she was like, I couldn't tell if they were being serious or not.
But then it took her almost a month.
Right. Right. She
Um,
was gone for a long while up there.
and I'm just like, man, girl, you're gonna have a lot of catching up to do
Mm-hmm.
with your other classes. But yeah, she gets up there, and we get walked through each day of her crazy meditation trip.
Yeah.
It was wild.
She does make it up to the Pantheon.
And she speaks with a lady who she says was familiar for some reason.
That was confusing. I was like, is it your mom?
And the lady catches fire. And I think she like has a vision of people dancing around a fire, and I think it was Spearleys.
Yeah.
I think the Spearleys are like Phoenix people. That's like their.
Makes sense with the red eyes and everything. Yeah.
I feel like it may have been mentioned outright, but I feel like they were Phoenix people, and she's like, I want like Phoenix powers, and the lady's like, the Phoenix only takes, it's like fire. It only wants blood, and she's like, I have plenty of blood to give, and then the lady like
Yeah.
catches fire.
Yeah.
Oh, people in the vision like burned away and turned into skeletons, and then stood back up as skeletons,
Mm-hmm.
and like beckoned for her to come closer, like, oh, spoopy.
Yeah. It was spooky. It was.
It was a wild time. But then Zhang is there, like, hey, hey, girly, trip's over. What'd you see?
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Shapes, pretty colors.
Yeah.
No, she talks about seeing the Pantheon, and so it's revealed, like, she discovered the reason for being. She's become enlightened. She's opened her third eye.
Right.
She's woke.
Yes.
Um,
And that conversation around like deity in the form of humans is all tied into that too.
asks, so what happens when we die? And he's like, oh, you already know the answer to that. You tell me. And then she talks about like your energy being dispersed back into the universe and you become everything again. And like very, very, I feel like it's very Eastern, like
for sure.
Spiritual
For sure.
stuff. So not only are we pulling from like Asian history, but also Asian like spiritualism and culture, of course,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, he says like she's like, so she like really wants to learn. Well, she's like, so what's next? And he's like, what do you mean? You're cured now. You're not gonna like accidentally kill a bunch of people. You're enlightened. You have a firmer grasp of the universe than most theologians of the era. But she's just really bent on like using these powers for warfare. And she's kind of keeping it under wraps, that's her main goal. Which totally won't come back to bite her.
No. Not at all. So that pretty much wraps up this part. Unless you had something else you wanted to share.
No, I'm just excited about. I'm curious to see how this relationship continues with the lore master, and if she's able to like sneakily get more information on how to militarize this power. See where things go with Neja.
I guess we'll find out.
Find out what happened to his dad.
That would be nice.
And more food descriptions.
Yeah. So for next time, we're going to read chapters 10 through 12. But before we go, Blake reminded me of something. When I had first started reading the book, he was like, should we read the last sentence together just to see what, like, if, you know, what, if it's going to be spoilery or not? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Thinking, like, it's not going to be a spoilery sentence. When I tell you I was wrong.
The most spoilery sentence you've ever read ever?
Maybe.
Should I read it?
Maybe.
That's the acknowledgements. Since you've read it, you know. Oh, nope. Still the acknowledgements. Okay, there we go. I skipped a page. Okay. So the final chapter. Okay.
Yep. So I was like, I don't know, man. Did you read it?
Yes, I'm just making sure that was that like a prologue? No, there's no prologue. It's just the chapter 26.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, epilogue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Blake read that out loud, and I was like, oh my gosh. I think we're going to have to read the next book after we finish this one, but we'll see.
We will see. Anyway. Can you say one more time what the next chapters are?
Chapters 10 through 12. So 10, 11, 12.
10, 11, 12. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, I guess until next time, happy reading.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Later.
Bye.